Hello, family and friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Shauna, and I hope you're having a fabulous day so far. Today is Tuesday, terrific Tuesday that is, April 8th, and as you can see, I am at sea. Today is a sea day. We're on our way to Grand Cayman Island in the Bahamas, so I look forward to a nice sea day. I need the rest. Yesterday I had to kind of rush, and I don't like feeling rushed, so today I got to really just take my time reviewing what we learned yesterday, and I can read slowly and calmly, but I don't want the video to be too long, of course. All right, so with that, let's just say our prayer and get going. Lord, thank you for this time together. Thank you for every single soul who can hear my voice. Please give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to gain insight and inspiration from your text that we can use in our lives today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so a real quick recap from yesterday. Yesterday, we finished the book of Ruth. So we're out of Ruth and we're moving on to 1 Samuel. Well, we already moved into 1 Samuel yesterday towards the end. We read the first 8 chapters of 1 Samuel, verses rather. So my friends, the book of Ruth ended happily, which was nice. You know, it's nice to get a good, there's a lot of good that happens, but I think after just getting through the book of Judges, it just feels like everything is just horrible, but it was a nice ending. So Ruth and Boaz got married. Ruth and Boaz, and then the women of the neighborhood named Ruth's son Obed. And so I thought that was interesting. And they praised Naomi, saying, "Yay, you're going to be a great grandmother." And they were just really happy for Naomi, because remember, Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons, and then Ruth stayed with her by her side to care for her and gave her a grandson, basically. All right, and then the genealogy of King David we got into yesterday a bit. Ruth is going to be the great-grandmother of King David. So David was from the tribe of Judah, and his family tree is recorded at the end of the chapter. Judah. All right, so that's all I'll say about the end, how Ruth ended. I do have some more review, because yesterday after we read Ruth, it took us into 1 Chronicles, and that was, a lot of genealogy being read, but I did do a little detailed study about that. And so here's what I got based on our reading from yesterday. So yesterday we had to cover 1 Chronicles chapter 2, 9 through 55. And so here's my summary of that little chunk. It was covering the genealogy of Jacob. So 1 Chronicles 2 is a contribution of the genealogy found in Chronicles chapter 1. It picks up with Jacob, formerly named Israel, remember, the grandson of Abraham. The genealogy names Jacob's 12 sons who became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. The family tree continues through Jacob's son Judah until it reaches King David. So all those names and all of those is just a foretelling of the history of the genealogy leading up to King David, which is good to know. But when you're just getting a dose of it, for me, the names was hard enough, and then now I'm trying to understand what, this lineage here. And then the second part of it, of 1 Chronicles, was the genealogy of Hezron and Caleb, and that covered chapter 2, 18 through 55. And so my summary of that is, the genealogy doesn't conclude with David. It lists other family lines within the tribe of Judah, including the family of Hezron. The documenting of these additional family lines would have been important to the Jews who returned from Babylonian exile, because most of them were descendants of the tribe of Judah. So that was my summary just of 1 Chronicles 2, 9 through 55, which was what we read yesterday. Now moving on to the other part of that reading was 1 Chronicle chapter 4. So my summary of 1 Chronicle chapter 4 is this. The family line of Judah The first 23 verses in First Chronicles chapter 4 contain the genealogy of the descendants of Jacob's son Judah. Judah's children eventually became the tribe of Judah, which was the largest of the 12 Israelite tribes. Special attention is given to Jabez, a descendant of Judah, whose short prayer to God is recorded in verse 10. And remember yesterday I said that was a very famous prayer, the prayer of Jabez. I mean, it was years ago. It was, 15 maybe, or maybe more years ago, but that really exploded in popularity, and you saw the prayer of Jabez everywhere. And so if you want to be reminded of what that is, you can see it in verse 10. And I wrote it down because I wanted to remind myself of it. Jabez said, "Bless me and enlarge my territory." Remember that? There was a song out on that too. Anyway, in his prayer, he asks God to bless him and keep him safe. So nothing wrong with, recalling that prayer and, praying it over your own life. That's why I wrote it down, because I'm going to recall it and pray it over my own life. All right, and then to wrap up that reading, the family line of Simeon was covered in verses 24 through 43. The genealogy of Simeon, another of Jacob's sons, is the topic of the second half of the chapter. The Chronicle writer documents the prominent men of Simeon and some of their accomplishments. So that's pretty much a covering of a reading, which leads us into today's reading. So yesterday we started the book of 1 Samuel, and we read from 1 through 8 in 1 Samuel, and there it opened with a rivalry, so we met the characters, or the people, shame on me saying characters. We met Hannah, who was barren. She was one of the wives of Elkanah, those names, I'm sorry. And so Peniel was the other wife. Peniel had kids, whereas Hannah couldn't. So Peniel used to poke at her and tease her and mock her. So it opens with a rivalry, and that's where we are today, starting at 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 9. Here we go. And they had eaten and drunk in Shiloh. Hannah rose. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. She was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, "O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head." Kind of like what we saw with Samson, the Nazarene. 12. As she continued praying before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman, and Eli said to her, "How long will you go on being drunk? Put your wine away from you." But Hannah answered, "No, my Lord, I'm a woman troubled in spirit. I have not drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord. Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman, for all along I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation." Then Eli answered, "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him." 18. And she said, "Let your servant find favor in your eyes." Then the woman went in her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. So she would go to the temple every day and pray and ask God for her son. And the priest thought she was drunk, but she was just speaking out so wholeheartedly. God interpreted her words, because he can interpret our minds, our hearts, our soul, everything. And so she wasn't saying anything, but her lips were moving, and the priest of that temple thought she was drunk. 19. They arose early in the morning and worshiped before the Lord. Then they went back to their house at Ramah, and Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. And in due time Hannah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Samuel, for she said, I have asked for him from the Lord. 21. The man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and to pay his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, as soon as the child is weaned, I will bring him, so that he may appear in the presence of the Lord and dwell there forever. Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord establish his word. So the woman remained and nursed her son until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephod of flour, and a skin of wine. And she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh, and the child was young. Then they slaughtered the bull, and they brought the child to Eli. And she said, Oh, my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who was standing here in your presence, praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition that I made to him. Therefore I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. So she basically gave her son to God, saying, he is yours. And he took him to the temple to be raised in the temple with the priest. All right, let's keep going. The birth of Samuel. There was a certain man of Ramoth Zophim of the, I'm just trying to see. I just read that, sorry. Let me turn the page. All right, Hannah's prayer. Chapter 2, Hannah's prayer. And Hannah prayed and said, my heart exults in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth derides my enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. There is none holy like the Lord, for there is none beside you. There is no rock like our God. Talk no more so very profoundly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. For the bows of the mighty are broken, but the feeble bind on strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, but those who were hungry have ceased to be hunger. The barren has borne 7, but she who has many children is forlorn. The Lord kills and brings to life. He brings down to Sheol and raises up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and he exalts. He raises up the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the ash heap, to make them sit with princes and inherit a seat of honor. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and on them he has set the world. 9. He will guard the feet of his faithful ones, but the wicked shall be cut off in darkness. For not by might shall a man prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Against them he will thunder in heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Then Elkanah went home to Ramah, and the boy was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli the priest. Eli's worthless sons. Oh, okay. So the son of Hannah is blessed and dedicated to God and living amongst the priests. It says, and the boy was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli the priest. All right, so that was the good son. Now we're on verse 12, Eli's worthless sons. Now the sons of Eli were worthless men. They did not know the Lord. The custom of the priests with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servants would come while the meat was boiling with a 3-pronged fork in his hand, and he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All that the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. This is what they did at Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Moreover, before the fat was burned, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who was sacrificing, "Give meat for the priest to roast, for he will not accept boiled meat from you, but only raw." And if the man said to him, "Let them burn the fat first, and then take as much as you wish," he would say, "No, you must give it now, and if not, I will take it by force." Thus the sin of the young men was very great in the sight of the Lord, for the men treated the offering of the Lord with contempt. 18. Samuel was ministering before the Lord, a boy clothed with a linen ephod, and his mother used to make for him a little robe and take it to him each year when she went up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. Then Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, "May the Lord give you children by this woman for the petition she asks of the Lord." So then they would return to their home. Indeed, the Lord visited Hannah, and she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the boy Samuel grew in the presence of the Lord. All right. 22. Eli rebukes his sons. Now Eli was very old, and he kept hearing all that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who were serving at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And he said to them, "Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. Now, my sons, it is no good report that I hear that the people of the Lord spreading abroad. If someone sins against a man, God will meditate for him. But if someone sins against the Lord, who can intercede for him?" But they would not listen to the voice of their father, for it was the will of the Lord to put them to death. Now the boy Samuel continued to grow both in stature and in favor with the Lord and also with man. 27. The Lord rejects Eli's household. And there came a man of God to Eli and said to him, "Thus says the Lord, did I indeed reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt, subject to the house of Pharaoh? Did I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to go up to my altar to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? I gave to the house of your father all my offerings by fire from the people of Israel. Why then do you scorn my sacrifice and my offerings that I commanded for my dwelling, and honor your sons above me by fattening yourselves on the choicest parts of every offering of my people Israel?" 30. Therefore the Lord, the God of Israel, declares, "I promised that your house and your house of your father should go in and out before me forever. But now the Lord declares, far be it from me, for those who honor me I will honor, and those who despise me shall be lightly esteemed." 31. Behold, the days are coming when I will cut off your strength and the strength of your father's house, so there will not be an old man in your house. 32. Then in distress you will look at envious eyes on all of the prosperity that shall be bestowed on Israel, and there shall not be an old man in your house forever. 33. The only one of you whom I shall not cut off from my altar shall be spared to weep his eyes out, to grieve his heart, and all the descendants of your house shall die by the sword of men. 34. And that shall come unto you upon your 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, shall be the sign to you. Both of them shall die on the same day. And I will raise up for myself a faithful priest, whom shall do according to what is in my heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall go in and out before my anointed forever. And everyone who is left in your house shall come to implore him for a piece of silver or a loaf of bread, and shall say, please put me in one of the priest's places, that I may eat a morsel of bread. All right, I'm not gonna attempt to summarize that. That's a lot, but I'll summarize it and talk about it tomorrow. The Lord calls Samuel. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no frequent vision. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim so that he could not see, was lying down in his own place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel and said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call. Lie down again." So he went and lay down. 6. And the Lord called again, "Samuel." And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, my son. Lie down again." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. 8. And the Lord called Samuel again a third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall speak. You shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant hears.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. 10. And the Lord came and stood, calling as at other times, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant hears." Then the Lord said to Samuel, "Behold, I am about to do a thing in Israel at which the 2 ears of everyone who hears will tingle." 12. On that day I will fulfill against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. And I declared to him that I am about to punish his house forever for the iniquity that he knew, because his sons were blaspheming God, and he did not restrain them. Therefore I swear to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. 15. Samuel lay until morning. Then he opened the doors of the house of the Lord, and Samuel was afraid to tell the vision to Eli. But Eli called to Samuel and said, "Samuel, my son." And he said, "Here I am." And Eli said, "What was it that he told you? Do not hide it from me. May God do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all that he told you." 18. So Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him. And he said, "It is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him." 19. And Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel was established as a prophet of the Lord. And the Lord appeared again at Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel at Shiloh by the word of the Lord. So I'll recap that also tomorrow, but Samuel is called to be a prophet of God. So God, he hears God's words basically. And so God was telling him to go and tell Eli that I'm going to kill your sons because they have been blaspheming me, and I'm not going to forgive them for it. So that was the word that came from Samuel to Eli. And remember, Samuel was dedicated to God by Hannah, because Hannah couldn't have kids, but once she did, she said, "I'm going to dedicate my son to the temple." All right, last reading, and then again I'll review that a little more and give a more detailed summary tomorrow. Last chapter 4, 1 Samuel chapter 4, and it only has us going to verse 11. And the word of Samuel came to Israel. Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Aphek. The Philistines drew up in line against Israel, and when the battle spread, Israel was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the field of battle. 3. And when the people came to the camp, the elders of Israel said, Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us break the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, that it may come among us and save us from the power of our enemies. 4. So the people sent to Shiloh and brought from there the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned on the cherubim. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. 5. As soon as the ark of the covenant of the Lord came unto the camp, all Israel gave a mighty shout, so that the earth resounded. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shouting, they said, "What does this great shouting in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" And when they learned that the ark of the Lord had come to the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "A God has come unto the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us! Who can deliver us from the power of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with every sort of plague in the wilderness." 9. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, lest you become slaves to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be men and fight. So the Philistines were scared. They were like, I'm out of here. But someone's telling them, probably the leader of the army, no, we're going to fight them because we're not going to become their slaves later. 10. So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and they fled every man to his home. And there was a very great slaughter, for 30,000 foot soldiers of Israel fell. And the ark of God was captured, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. So the ark of the covenant was stolen by the Philistines. Ooh, I'm remembering the battle, David and Goliath. All right, well, not to jump ahead, I'll leave that where I leave that. Let me quickly do some church announcements, and then I'll let you go. I hope you've been enjoying the view. More importantly, I hope you're enjoying the reading. Oh, hey, after all, it's God's great creation. God created oceans, seas. Look at the sky. That's God's creation. That's one of the reasons I love cruising. I just love honoring God that way in nature. All right, anyway, friends. My dear friend Monica from Youngstown, my exquisite sister, she know what that means. We went to high school together. Her birthday is today. Happy birthday, Monica. Monica inspired me to be a majorette because she was either cheerleader or on the dance team, and we went to a predominantly white school, so that was a big deal to see a black girl on the dance squad. And so once I seen that she could do it, I knew. I was like, okay, so I became a majorette. Thank you, Monica. Look at you making history in my eyes anyway. And then my Facebook friend, June, hey Junie in California, her sister Pam turned 70. Happy birthday, Pam. Or belated birthday. I don't know if it was today or if it was yesterday. I just seen it today though. And my step-in sister Carla, her son Calvin, happy 30th birthday, Calvin. All right, my friends. And tomorrow, I'm so used to doing belated birthdays, but I'm gonna take a chance and do an early birthday just in case these uploads don't happen right away. My cousin Nisi has a birthday tomorrow, so happy early birthday, Nisi. All right, everyone, go and have a terrific Tuesday. I hope the rest of your day is amazing. And God willing, I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye.